I don't know how to close this out.
I think we just leave it here and say goodbye.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Hello and Goodbye. I'm Leanna.
And I am Jared.
And we are back.
We're here. we're here and we're doing it.
I know it has been so long. I know that you guys have been waiting patiently. I think our last episode was like July, the first week of July.
Oh, yeah. And even that was just like a little one, right?
It was a little one. Yeah. So we wanted to jump on here. It's been a long time. We wanted to give you guys updates of our life. We're going to talk about closure today. But before we do that, I do want to talk about our favorite sponsor, VFresh.
Hall of Fame.
Natasha Semigo. She's amazing. She owns the company. It's a company that empowers women. They have some new products out. So basically, it's products that help empower women to take back their vaginal health as well as other care now. So I use the boric acid suppositories, the V Cleanse. It helps balance with yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis. I use it, when I'm going to start my period or after my period. They're great for after sex to keep everything balanced. They have a Be Gentle, which is a wash for your feminine area, but I use it on my face and my face is glowing. That is not what it's for, but I use it on my face and I get a lot of compliments on my skin. It has helped with hormone acne, like a significant amount. It's crazy. They have probiotics now, which are amazing. They have supplements for your bladder health and urinary tract function. And then the newest thing I have is the deodorant, which I have now. And it's really great. It's clear, it's organic, it doesn't have a smell, it dries clear. But there is a caveat here. Don't store it where it's tilted because it's liquid. It's pure liquid. So you have to keep it upright or else it will spill literally everywhere. But other than that, I really, really, really love it. So if you guys want 10% off your first order with VFresh, you're going to use code HELLO2022. Go to vfresh.com, VEEfresh.com. And then when you go to checkout, use code HELLO2022, get 10% off your first order. You're going to love everything. Buy in bulk. It's worth it. Or if you've already used the code, have your friend or your partner or your dad get it for you. Hey, dad, I need some more suppositories for my vagina.
No dad will even know what it is. You're just like, here's the shopping cart. They'll be like, I don't know what any of these words mean. Okay.
No, I know. It's perfect. So anyway, VFresh, Patreon update. I did go ahead and pause our Patreon. So if you are a Patreonee, you haven't been charged for a while, and I will let you know if we're going to start that up again. But right now it is on pause, and we thank you guys so much for all of your support. And I think that's kind of it. If you guys want to give us a rating or review, I know it's been a while since we've been on, but anything helps. And keep sharing our episodes, share with a friend. All of it helps. Yeah. Okay. So we have some major updates. It's been July, August, September, October. It's been 4 months of updates, but we're going to try and keep it somewhat condensed. Yeah. Jared, you have I feel like you have the biggest update. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I have a life update. So I accepted a new job and then moved at the very beginning of September down to the San Diego area. And specifically, I'm north of San Diego. I live near the beach, which is wonderful. But it's been a big change. My getting used to a new job, and I have slightly different responsibilities and a totally different kind of work culture has been big. And then it's crazy that I lived in Redlands and had my same job at the same place for 8 years.
That's crazy.
And I'd never been, in one place for that long before, and certainly not working one job that long before. And so it's been interesting, but it's great. Yeah, it's been nice, but it's like huge adjustment. And like, I'm sure we'll get into this later, but when I got here, I like dived into like dating and stuff like that. And that's been interesting too, just like being in a different area and all that. So that's been the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that happened. You found out about that in August.
Yep.
And, you know, the podcast had already been kind of on a pause. And I just felt like it was the right moment for you to kind of like spread your wings and leave, you know? And so it was sad for me to see you go, but I also knew that it was just like time, you know?
Yeah, I think I had been like kind of like looking for a new challenge and like looking to make a change and stuff like that. And so, you know, it's definitely been a change. So yeah.
Well, I was able to go down. I don't know if you guys don't follow us on Instagram, go follow us at _Leanna and Jared and at the real Jared Rodriguez. But I went down to San Diego for my birthday and we spent the weekend together.
Yes, that was so much fun.
That was a lot of fun. We were both wildly hungover on Sunday.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the most alcohol I have drank in a long time.
That's right, because Saturday was the day we bounced around like Little Italy and there was a Padres playoff game on. And then we connected up with like a few different groups of people throughout the night and then went to another bar and then went to another bar.
And I made out with someone.
You did?
And it was not good. So then I ditched him. And then this other guy was hitting on me and he got my number and we went to hang out the next day and he was like, I'm not feeling it.
Oh, that's right. You like left my house and you were like, I'm going to go on a date and then drive home to Redlands. And I was like, good for you.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. You know, I was thinking back on it because he was like, I wasn't into him. And then he took my phone and he's like, you're really cool. Here's my number. Like, let's connect or whatever. And I said, you know what? Why not? I'll just put myself out there and go hang out. And then it was weird. It was almost like, it was almost immediate that he was like, felt disconnected. And I was like, well, I didn't have any makeup on. It was like daylight. We weren't drunk anymore. And maybe he just like wasn't attracted to me. I don't know. It was like really kind of weird. It was like weird energy right from the beginning.
Well, but weirdly, right? Like it was the next day when you guys set up the date. So you were like texting like on Sunday during the day and he was like, he was coming from like a totally different part of San Diego. And he was like, I'll drive up to close where you are and blah, blah, blah. And then,
I know. It was weird. And then I think maybe he wanted someone who's maybe a little bit more, okay, well, I didn't tell you this part, but he like goes to Bible study. And it's not like he would call himself more spiritual, but he grew up pretty Christian. He says his family's kind of conservative. And he was asking me about my views on that. And I'm a little jaded. And I don't think he liked that. I think he didn't like that I had opposing views to the churches, the idea of church religion and all of that. But what made me mad about it, and I actually texted and told him this, is we hung out for a few hours. I mean, we had some snacks. I offered my card. He was like, oh, yeah. So like we split it. And he was like, I really like that you put your card down. And I'm like, I don't really like that you took it, but okay. And then we went and got ice cream and he's like, I got this. And I'm like, it's $10. So yes, you should get it.
Yeah.
And then we went and walked on the beach and it was kind of an intimate conversation. And he was just diving in deep, like asking me like, well, what happened with the church? Like what? And I said, well, you know, I gave him like a quick, like very superficial summary, but it was still like giving him information. He was so invested in like asking me like kind of in-depth questions. And then later was like, oh yeah. He's like, well, you live 2 hours away and blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm sorry, I just wasn't feeling it. And I just told him, I said, hey, listen, that's totally fine. I said, but maybe next time, if you're not feeling someone, don't ask them deep questions about their like religious trauma.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just think, and that's all the part of like, and maybe it's just maybe it was just the sting of like, I wasn't into him and then he asked me out and then all of a sudden he's not into me. But I think it was also like, we talk about this a lot. Like when you're dating, like you're holding that person's heart, like you are partly responsible for your actions and how that may affect that person. So if he knew he wasn't feeling it, one, he could have said much earlier, hey, listen, I'm not feeling this. Like, I know you want to go to the beach. Why don't you just enjoy the walk by yourself? Or two, just been like, what's your favorite color?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'm curious your thoughts on that, though.
It is interesting, like trying to make conversation. And then I think sometimes, like, because I'm just a deep diver naturally, I like catch the conversation steering in that direction just because that's what's interesting to me,
Yeah.
But as someone who like used to go like way deep right away, like because of my stuff, like, because of like, that was my own, like, I think anxious sort of attachment stuff. I now, and this actually happened today a little bit, like, if we kind of get onto a topic that's a little bit about like someone talking about something difficult that happened in their life or whatever, like, I will like stop them and be like, hey, you totally don't have to. I'll like give them an out or just kind of say like, you don't have to get too deep into it if you don't want to. And then they can tell like the 2-sentence version and then we'll move on. I try to like sort of do that. And I think that's really wise to do. And especially if, you're not really that interested in the other person.
100%.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was birthday weekend. I do want to come back to the dating because I have an update on that too. And I want to hear about I don't know anything about what's happening with you right now with dating, but I also have been like way into pool. It was so funny. I did this like medium session with Jennifer, the grief medium, I think back in May or June, or I think it was in June. And I was like, hey, listen, like, how involved should I be with pool? Like, I'm really enjoying it. And I think in our session, she was like, have fun. She's like, but don't let it, like make sure that it's not necessarily like too much of it or whatever. I'm not there at the pool all the time.
You're like, okay, so 24/7, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Great.
Yeah. I went to Vegas. I did like a tournament in Vegas. I put a team together. There was 3 of us. It's called the Southwest Challenge. It was 9-ball. And essentially you put a team together that's at a cap skill level. So you can't have like high players for the whole team. You have to have some low and medium and whatever. And we competed for 2 days. We played probably 18 hours of pool and we got 33rd out of 235 teams.
Wow. That's so incredible. And
then I played in a mini tournament while we were out there and I got 3rd, which was really fun. I moved up a skill level. It was just like super, super fun. The catch is that I roomed with the guy that I had been in a casual thing on and off that I was having a hard time getting over. If this is your first episode, we'll go into that in a second. But if you're returning, this is the guy that he was a Republican. And update, he's officially registered as a libertarian.
Wow. Is that better? I don't know.
It is because
yeah, sure.
It 100% is, because if you're not voting for the Republican side, you're like helping against votes for like banning abortion and all of that. So actually that's like he brought that up to me. He was like, hey, he's like, just so you know, he's like, I don't know if this makes you feel better, but I re-registered as a libertarian.
Oh, that's sweet that he like made a point to tell you because he knew it was important to you.
I know. And I peeked around and I was like, that does make me feel better. And then because I was in the bathroom and then I went back and I was like, wow, I said, this is the happiest I felt all day. And he like had a good chuckle about it.
That's so funny.
So anyway, that was one of the big conflicts, was our difference in political views, which actually with time that has come closer and closer together. But he is definitely like not into me, like at all, like doesn't see a future with me, doesn't want anything with me. We have not hooked up since June. So since the last time that we had, I have reached out a few times. He has said no. I've basically made myself look and feel as stupid as possible with like keeping on like wanting him to change his mind and be with me or see my value. And I've had a really hard time moving on. Like a really hard time. I see him too much. I see him all the time. I was just going to say,
yeah, like it isn't your fault you're having a hard time when you like see him constantly.
All the time. And it's push and pull. So it's like, sometimes I get intimate, like moments with him and then and then I don't hear from him or he won't respond to a text or he'll kind of ignore me at the hall. So it's like, and I don't think he does it on purpose. I think it's just because he's not into me. So it's like, he's not conscious or aware that he's doing it. I had the tournament to look forward to doing with him. And I think that there was a part of me that was hopeful that spending that much time together, he would be like, oh my gosh, Leanna's different. I put her in a box. Like I see her value. I see her worth. I want to be with her. And it was a grieving process for me that didn't happen because the whole weekend we just meshed. Like we were in the car a total of 8 hours together. It went fine. We like work well together. We laughed a lot. Like we're good, like pool partners. Like it could not have gone smoother other than me bringing up one time of like how he was feeling. And if it was hard for him being in a room with me, like, was there a sexual attraction for him there? And he was basically like, well, yeah, but like also I'm closed off to it because there's no emotional connection. Which then I was hurt and then we got in a little argument and then like he came back late and I woke up and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. And he's like, I'm sorry too. And, he was like, I just don't want to lose you as a friend. And I was like, I feel the same. And then we talked and had deep conversation for like an hour and a half at 2 a.m., like talking about our childhood and things like this. And it's just like, it's so hard for me that it's not connecting with him the way that it's connecting with me, because I keep getting these pieces of like hope, and then like the anxiousness when then he doesn't, it's the totally opposite thing. And then it's also like just my own self-worth with it of being like, why am I doing this to myself? Like how am I continuing to put myself in a situation or be hopeful for someone that doesn't want me? And like, so then just like feeling so stupid all the time for not being able to move on or not, being able to like, be like, I'm worth more than this. Like, I'm not going to put up with that shit, which I do feel that way sometimes. And then I really, what it is deep down is I just feel hurt. And so then the anger can only cover the pain for so long. And I really, really have deep feelings for this person. And I don't know if they're going to go away anytime soon. What are your thoughts?
That's so hard. Well, what are you thinking that you're gonna do about that? Because that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah. Well, I did after the tournament, I did join a dating app. I'm like, well, the best thing that could help me move on is if I meet someone at least, as a distraction. I went on a date yesterday. Super nice guy, zero romantic connection. And I was so disappointed. I sent him the text today, like, hey, I wanted to process and there's not a romantic connection for me. And I really appreciate your time that we spent together. And he was like, I'm sorry to hear that. I thought things went well. If you change your mind, let me know. And I was like, of course. And it's like, back to the drawing board. Like, this is why I hate online dating is like, the people pleasing side of me feeling the need to like cradle these guys like feelings, but the other, so I'm not like, I haven't deleted it yet, although it was tempting. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll have another date in the next week. But the big thing for me that's coming up is I am having my hip surgery.
Yeah.
So that's on December 16th. So keep me in your thoughts. But that will change a lot. I mean, I think that's part of why I was telling you, I'm at this weird spot in my life where it's like, I think I'm so burnt out from trying to prove myself for the last 7 years since my divorce, of doing it on my own and like trying to make things happen with yoga and with the podcast and now with pool. And I have this impending surgery coming up that I know I'm going to be out for 3 weeks on crutches, 3 weeks light walking. It's 5-month recovery. It's going to take me away from the pool hall. So that's probably a good thing. Although I'm going to miss all my friends. So I'll probably go and just watch every now and then. I'm going to need someone to like pick me up. I don't know. It's going to be like a weird thing, but that is the best thing that can happen is I take time away from the hall.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a mixed blessing though, too, because then you're like missing like a lot of your community, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, these people are like, I went paintballing with them today. So we partied all night last night. We had one of my friend's birthdays. They had a pool table. So we went to their house. I, had a few glasses of wine. We were playing pool. We did a tournament. And so we were all like hungover this morning. And then we got up early and went paintballing out in, Lake Elsinore, because another one of the guys works at a paintball shop and he has all of this stuff and they're paintballers. And so we had all the equipment and we went and paintballed for 6 hours. And I was joking with them. I'm like, I see you guys more than my best friends. Like I hang out with these people more almost than my family. Like I'm there all the time. And so it already feels like I'm pre-grieving. Like I know it's going to be a really difficult time. Yeah. But I also wonder if it's going to force me to kind of step out of the community for a second and kind of be like, do I need to step out a little bit more? Like maybe just be there 3 times a week instead of 5 or, I feel like I've been talking a lot. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, it's so interesting. It's just so interesting how like life takes these twists and turns. And it's really like what your life is made up of all these like little decisions you make. And like, if starting to get into a new hobby can sort of change everything in your life over a period of time, right? Which sort of happened to you, in terms of like just looking at who you spend your time with and who you talk to and share things with and stuff like that, because that's who you're around and whatever. So, I mean, I think it's good that you're being like thoughtful about it and being careful with yourself and everything like that. I mean, it's interesting because I moved to a new area, and like I had community and a lot of strong connections in Redlands, but it was kind of like here and there. I had you, and then I had a couple people that I worked with that I was very close with. And then I had, over my 8 years there, going from, being in my early 30s to being now in my early 40s, right? Like I, went from like having had all these friends that I would like go out to the bars with every weekend. And then, some of them moved away, some of them had kids, some of the, and I stopped like doing that kind of thing. Right. And so then when I moved down here, I kind of like threw myself into some stuff, and you were making fun of me about this on your birthday. So like every Monday I'm in a little beach volleyball league. Every Wednesday I take a hip hop dance class at a dance studio, which is Leanna's favorite thing in the world. It's literally like me and a bunch of like moms whose kids go to the dance studio. But I love it. It's so fun. I don't care what anyone says. And then on Sundays I'm taking this singing class, and so I'm like, I was like just trying to do things. Yeah. And I definitely have felt like lonely. And it's like weird too, like going from being like, there there were some things about my job that were tough. And there were some things about, like, especially in the past couple of years at the university, like COVID's been a really hard time for everyone in education and, you know, almost any field. And so there were aspects of my job that weren't ideal. But I was like so sure of what my job was and who I was and how I did it. Like I felt very comfortable and confident. And then going into like a very different type of institution, a role that was sort of more different than I had thought. I'm like kind of self-conscious, you know, like I go to work and I'm like, is this what I'm supposed, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I hope someone will tell me if there's something I'm not supposed, like something else that I'm supposed to be doing, or if I'm doing this wrong or whatever. And so that mixed with like not having a lot of community has been tough in some ways. And I think like, you know, so I didn't mean to like divert into talking too much about myself, but like what I would say to you is I think what I'm trying to say to myself at this time is like, just like accept it for what it is and try to take care of yourself. And for me, that's like remembering like when I have downtime or when especially if I'm like feeling down, like reaching out to people, like reaching out to you or to friends back home to just talk on the phone and do those kinds of things. Because I actually think I'm doing that less in the move because there's so much like to do when you move, you know, like it doesn't feel like you have as much downtime, you know, because you're like doing all the like million things like settle in, and even like going to the grocery stores, you're like, well, which grocery store should I go to? And like, where is this kind of, you know, where do I get this thing and whatever? So yeah. And I mean, like, there's no way to really like prepare for it. You just have to try to take care of yourself in the moment, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think that's good advice. I do want to like backtrack on your hip hop class. So like, my favorite thing you've ever said to me.
Okay, wait, hang on. Wait, I had to tell the story properly. So
okay.
I take a awesome hip hop class every Wednesday. And then I was so into it at one point that I like looked around at other places that had hip hop classes that like adults could go to. And I found there was another one at another dance studio, like sort of nearby, on like a Sunday or something. And I went to that class once, and it was like me and one other lady. And the woman who was teaching it clearly like, did not teach hip hop. And so I was telling you about that class, and it was like your favorite story, I think, that I've ever told you. So I'll let you pick it up from there.
No, you need to you do it better.
Well, so we were out at the bar at your birthday on Friday night, and I was telling you this story. Oh, we were at this place where there was like people on a dance floor. Like we were on a dance floor when I was telling you this story. And I was like, this woman, I was complaining. I was like, this woman like clearly didn't teach hip hop. It was so not hip hop. I was like, she had us doing like pot of beret and all this shit. And that made you laugh a lot. And then I started showing you some of like the ridiculous moves that I remember. It was like almost like ballet twirls. Like it was so dumb. Yeah. And that was like the favorite thing that you've ever.
Well, so if you don't know what pas de bourrée is, it is like this like jazz and ballet. It's ballet, but you see it in jazz classes or whatever.
Or like if you're in a musical from like the 40s or something.
Pas de bourrée, exactly.
Yeah.
But the way that you showed it to me was just like. And so then I made a video after the dive bar of I was doing my version of hip hop.
Yeah. Is that still up? You should.
You know what? What I'll do is like, I'll make a reel of like this and then I'll add the video at the end.
Perfect. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is maybe my most favorite thing you've ever told me.
Yeah. It's a hilarious video.
It is. You know what? I would love to go. Can you please do the recital for your dance studio? And I can go watch you.
There is no recital for you. Are both, believe it or not, you are not the first person to ask me if there's going to be a recital for my hip hop dance class. The answer is no. Although if there was, I think I would be with it. I would be like, yeah, come get it. Let's go.
Well, recitals are usually in June for dance studios.
Yes.
So if they do decide to do one.
No, this is really, it's made as like more of a workout class. So like, we learn like, you know, it's basically like a totally new routine every time. And it's like 5-8 counts. And we just do it over and over and over constantly. Right. And so then the next week it's 5 whole brand new 8 counts, right? Kind of thing.
That's really disappointing.
It's so fun. It's so fun. And I feel like I'm getting better and that's fun. So anyway.
Are you going to do a singing show?
There is allegedly supposed to be a recital for that. It might be on Zoom. So if you're nice, I'll let you and your mom have the link.
I'd like to be in person. So I'm going to need the date. And everyone else who's listening, screw podcast live shows. Let's go down and watch Jared sing.
That's great. Yeah. Let's do it.
That would be great.
I'd be so embarrassed. It's actually doing the singing class has been really interesting to me because I've realized like maybe my greatest fear in the world is really like confidently singing a note and it being like way off, you know? Which like I do, you know, like, so it's really interesting. I have really good relative pitch. This is what my voice teacher has told me. If like sometimes when I like go for a note, just like hearing it from the piano, like I'm off. Mm-hmm. But then if like you give me a second, or especially if someone sings it for me,
yeah,
I can hit it. And then if I have the initial note, I'm going to get all of the notes.
Right. It just takes you a second. Yeah. I have piano students like that too. It just takes them a second to like find it and then they're good.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell us really quick about your dating. Cause
it's been so funny. So I think I told you I did at one point do a total like repeat of my old like Russian too quick pattern. And that was good because I felt like I kind of realized it was happening. And then it was really interesting because you know how I talk about it, like it's like you're selling each other the like intimacy drug. Yeah. You're not actually like getting to know each other, right? And and I was like, oh, like this is what's happening, and I named it, and then the woman I was seeing was like kind of like, no, it's not, like blah blah blah. And then like 2 days later, like the spell broke for her, you know, and then she was like, we're moving too fast, like I think we should and I was like, yeah, this is what I was saying to you like 2 days ago. But so that happened. I've gone on some dates. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, in some ways it's great. I mean, I live not too far from like University of California, San Diego. So like, there's just like a lot of like highly educated, highly successful people. There's a lot of people who like anyone who can like work remote and like makes good money. Like, why wouldn't you live here? So there's like a lot of people like that. It's been interesting. I did go on one date with a woman where at the end she was like, well, I think we could be friends. You know, I was like, I would hang out again. What about you? She was like, well, we could be friends. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why? And she was like, well, I thought you would be more traditional. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's totally fine. But like, can you say a little bit more what you mean by that? And as she was explaining it, I think I was like, oh, I think she means like rich. I think she thought I was going to be more rich. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it's good that you know now.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know. I've like almost, and I might do this like in the next week or so, like just kind of like shut it off for now, you know, like, cause it's just like so much.
It's so much work.
I feel like I need to like just slow down and like reconnect with myself. Like, cause like this whole, I mean, I moved about 2 months ago now and it still feels like a fucking blur, you know? Yeah. Like I still feel like I'm like going a million miles an hour and like, so I don't know. It's been, and I think the hard part is, so what I didn't share. It was weird for me when we would be recording the podcast, and you, as my friend, knew that I was like searching for jobs and everything like that. But I didn't want to put that out publicly because there were people at my work who like knew about the podcast and stuff like that. And so, but a lot of my job searching was like focused on the East Coast. And here I've accepted another job that's like just as far from, you know, where I'm from and where all my family is and everything like that. And so that's also interesting in the dating thing, is because like I know I'm here for now, but I don't know if I'm here forever.
Yeah.
And so that's some of it too, because then you meet people and like, you know, either like they've never left and they never want to leave, or like, you know, especially if like you meet someone who has children and like their family is here, then you know like that they, you know, need that support network around them and whatever. And so it's been a mixed bag filled with ups and downs and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, it's interesting. I have kind of gotten to the point where like I would rather just meet someone here. Remember how I was like, I'm never going to meet someone here. I need to like move to LA. Well, I've realized I do not want to move to LA. I spent like some more time there in the last couple months, and I'm like, it's not for me. I had this weird thing for a while of like, I would have men reach out to me to set up dates, and then they would cancel them, or I would just never hear from them. And it was like, it wasn't just dating apps. It was in real life too. And then the guy in San Diego that wasn't into me. And then now this guy yesterday that I wasn't into. But I do think if I were going to move, I would fit really well in with San Diego. I mean, every time I'm down there, it's like just amazing.
Definitely I think, like a more like chill vibe.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's more chill. I really like the area you're in actually, because like so I've been talking to my mom about all of this weird life stuff that's happening of like my new friends they just don't really care what people think. They're at the pool hall, you know, and I have so much fun playing pool and going paintballing. And I just like, they're really cool people. When you and I hung out in San Diego, my favorite night was the first night where we went to that, you know, random place with a cover band from the from the 80s, you know, 90s. And then went to a dive bar, like a grungy dive bar in like Little Cardiff, which is a cute little town. You know, Little Italy was fun, but the people there weren't as cool. And I realized like, I don't really care about $100 dinners anymore. Like, it's just not, I don't really fit. I don't know that I ever fit into that lifestyle. And I think maybe I was just wanting to fit into it. But it's like really not who I am. I mean, not that like if someone wants to take me to like a nice dinner, like I'm in, but I think that I was like so wanting to be this like podcaster that moves to LA and is like, you know, the podcast is off the charts and like I fit in. And
you're like, doing all these glamorous things, right? Yes.
I just thought that was in the cards for me. Like I thought it was going to happen and then it didn't. And I think maybe it's a blessing because it helped me realize like I'm actually happier with this part of me that like doesn't feel the need to like prove myself to the world, you know? And I think I'm just still learning about myself. I mean, I'm only 7 years out of the divorce of being married to someone for 8.5 years, together for 10. All through my 20s, from the age of 5 to 29, essentially being told how I should act and who I should be by the church. And then just, I don't know, putting myself out there, doing a bunch of things, hoping the podcast would go where I wanted it to go. And I guess that kind of like, let's segue into the podcast because, you know, it's something that we've been pretty open with you guys about of, you know, what's the direction of the podcast? You know, I didn't know when we would be coming back. I didn't know what that would look like. And if I'm being really frank, I still don't know. You know, I had imagined this as being our final episode, of kind of, you know, giving closure to you all of we're still here. We're still alive and living, and we love you. And this journey has been absolutely amazing. But right now is just not the right time. You know, you moved, you're still adjusting. I have a hip surgery coming up. I'm, you know, still trying to figure out my career and everything that's going there. And it just, I think there's a few things that I've realized in these last few months. One, I do want my life to be a little bit more private because I was just so open and vulnerable for so long.
Yeah.
And while I don't regret any of it, I do think I need that privacy more, and maybe not forever, but like for now. And then the other thing is creatively, I'm still really burnt out. And I was telling you before we jumped on, I don't know if that's laziness. I don't know if it's because I feel like I failed. Like the podcast didn't, I mean, what we did is significant. Like I'm not going to not pat myself on the back for the hard work I put in. We had, you know, over 100 episodes. I think it's hard doing something like this that you're putting so much into if you're not getting back what you're wanting to get back from.
Yes. And I think what is true, right, is like, even though we're tremendously proud of the podcast and have loved the experience in a lot of ways, right? Like doing this is kind of like, you have to be in the top 1%.
Yes.
And if your podcast gets in that top 1%, then you're like making money, and that leads to all these other opportunities and all these things.
Yes.
And like, so I think we got so much farther than like probably
100%.
Like we might have, like, you know, like we were definitely in the top like 40% maybe, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like way farther than most podcasts, and really had amazing guests and had amazing conversations. And I'm really proud to have put that out into the world. But, you know, we didn't make it into that like top 1% where like everything took off and went crazy.
Yeah. And we went through a hard period because we got signed to a network that reached out to us. And then that ended up being kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
And it went the opposite way that what I was thinking of it was going. And yeah, it just, I don't know. Once that kind of the network fizzled and we closed our relationship there very amicably. I had all these ideas. I mean, I have episodes banked and I have ideas for another project. And so it's all there. I mean, I have it here. It feels like if I put it out right now, it feels like I would be forcing it out just to prove something, or just to be like, don't give up, Leanna, don't give up. And I think right now I don't need to give up, but I need to like take some time to make sure that I'm not putting forth something just to put forth something, if that makes any sense.
It makes a ton of sense. Can I use a phrase that might sound really cheesy or whatever?
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to enter into something like this, you want it to be something that is like springing joyfully from your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and even though like you made these episodes and, you know, like have great ideas and stuff like that, it's not springing joyfully from your heart at this moment. And maybe it will in the future, and then great. But maybe it won't, and that's okay too, right?
Yeah. I know it's tough though, because I don't feel like many things are springing joyfully from my heart right now.
You and me both.
Except for pool.
Hey, that's great. Then do that. You know?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out like, how can pool pay my bills?
That's funny.
So I think
add it to your long list of teaching businesses. Piano, yoga, hand jobs.
Can you imagine? You know, what's interesting is all the reels that I put up on my Instagram for pool do the best.
Really?
They get the most. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So maybe I just need to start making amateur.
You're going to be like a billiards influencer. Yeah.
Oh yeah. For like amateur people right in the middle of the, maybe there needs to be like some presence on social media of people who are like middle of the road, for all they get are these like expert videos, right? Yeah. Maybe it could be like a progress of my journey or something.
There you go.
But anyway, so
can I just say something? Yeah. I think, just hearing you tell your story just now, since we've been recording, like one of the things that I think is really cool is when I've met you, when I first met you, you were still married and you were at this place where you kind of didn't have anything to prove to anyone, and you had your life and you were like, hey, I teach piano, I teach yoga, I really like teaching yoga, and you like lived in Redlands and you're like, I grew up here and my family's here and blah, 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 blah. And it does feel like you've been, for the past 7 years, right? Especially since you've gotten divorced, in this period of like really doing all this work, really trying to find yourself, really trying to be like, what is the thing I'm going to do that's going to be this big success or get me out of here or whatever it is. And there's something really beautiful and full circle in that you're in this place where you're like, I just kind of am liking my quiet little life here in Redlands, and I just want to be enjoying that right now. And I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. I'm Leanna. I teach piano. I teach yoga. I live in Redlands.
I mean, but like, I think that those are the people that, isn't that what like happiness and contentment is? Yeah. I certainly I wish I had more of that. Like, I don't want to live my whole life wherever I am wanting to be in another place. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, or, I think I feel like I'm at that a little bit in my career where 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, I was like, okay, well, I have this title now. So then in the next 5 years, I'm going to have to move up and become a vice president and then maybe a president and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I need all that. Like, I just, I'd like to be somewhere where I have good community and people I care about around me, and work that feels meaningful to me. And that's that. So when I was saying that, with, kind of some level of enviousness too, I think it's great that you're in that place.
I think that's sweet. Thank you, Jared. That's very sweet. I there's part of me that's like, oh my gosh, am I going to live with my parents forever? Am I going to be have a 401k? I don't even know what a 401k is. I can't even come up with the letters. No, I'm just joking. But I just can't. I can't focus on that, or it drowns me.
Yes.
So I have to just keep doing what I can do right now.
Yes.
And right now that is to continue to have the podcast. Just, these are the episodes that are out, this is the work that we've put out, and we, hope so much that they have helped you guys in significant ways, and our vulnerability and the guests that we've had on, and, especially sharing my story, and Jared sharing your story and those vulnerable parts of us. That was big, to have a platform to be able to do that. And it did reach people, and I know it helped people. And this isn't I don't think that I failed at this at all. Mm-mm. I just have to accept where it went and what it is now. So, I wanted to just kind of give you guys closure through this episode of, we we are so grateful to you. And like, we're still here. Like, we're on social media, DM us, friend us on Facebook. We're not going anywhere. We're just not going to be talking about our lives in a very intimate details on the weekly. Mm-hmm. But I know that I have more projects coming. I just don't know when. And like you said, like, I just can't, if it's not like exuding joy from my heart to like when I started Hello and Goodbye, I was fucking excited. Like, I was just like, it was like life-changing. Like, I was so excited every episode and enjoyed the editing process and, loved promoting on social media. And then through the years, it got harder and harder. And then I was like, okay, then I got renewed like a year ago, August 2021. Yeah. That we had kind of like an uptake and some videos went viral and our episodes downloads went skyrocketed. And then we got signed and then it was just like, but it's, so I want to wait again. I want to wait until, like you said, like, I'm really, really excited.
Yeah. Until you're like bursting at the seams, right? Yeah. Yeah. Can I say, I want to say thank you for bringing me on this journey with you. It's been really fun, and I'm really glad we got to do this together because I think it was really cool for like our friendship.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm really proud of like what we've done together, and I hope you are too. I think it's very cool.
I am. I think one of my favorite things that came out of this is our friendship.
Yeah.
Because we were always friends, but not this close of friends. And I truly feel like you are one of my closest best friends. And a lot of that is part of the podcast.
I feel that way too. Yeah. We been through a lot together. Sometimes sometimes getting mad at each other.
Yeah. We've had conflict and worked through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've survived.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey with you.
Yeah. And all of you guys, I have like my good friend Allison is from because this podcast, she reached out. Now we talk every day, and so many listeners and people that we've connected with on social media that are our friends now. And guests that we've had on that are friends that like Jamie Wood from Fuckboy Island, like or F by Jade Bianca, like they're our friends. Like they are legitimately our friends. It's insane. Yeah. And none of that. I mean, we've opened so many doors and networked and created so many opportunities that aren't going away just because Hello and Goodbye is
on pause,
is resting. She's sleeping. She's in a long sleep.
That's great.
So that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how to close this out.
I think we just leave it here and say goodbye.
Okay, guys.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for listening and coming on. Thank you all for coming on this journey with us. You made it really special. And maybe we'll see you sometime in the future.
We'll see you soon. Yeah. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.